With Aldrich out of the way in such an easy fight, I was left wondering if I am getting significantly better or is it just one boss. Usually when I have similar thoughts I get stomped like a bug, but let's not dwell on it. I went straight to Smith and used Titanite shards I don't need to level up Astora Greatsword. I got bored of my twin blades and wanted to switch to something else. I've heard Astora is good for dex builds. By the way, which builds are you guys using and what is your favorite weapon? Write in the comments below, I would love to hear your thoughts. To prove that I'm reading comments, I've unequipped the Pyromancy Flame as someone already asked about it in the comments. Here I am testing my might against invisible opponents. As soon as I saw the attack speed on this one, I knew there was gonna be no way I can time anything right, especially the boss fights. Leveled up, 1 point in dex and another in endurance. I'm ready to go. Before I continue, I wanted to track back a little bit. I missed one mini boss, which was in the Leonard's questline. This guy right here. He appears here as you defeat Curse Rotted Deadwood, or light a cliff underside bonfire in Undead Settlement, as shown on the image. You also need one of the Pale Tongues, which can be found in several places. I think the earliest you can get it is while doing Siegward's questline. I got a key from him which opens the locked gate below the tower on the wall's bonfire. So that's where I'm headed now. As you get to the bonfire, you run down these stairs, enter the tower and descend to the lower level. Might as well kill some enemies in the meantime for some hefty reward of souls. And then the ladder here to sink down even lower. If I continue further, it would be almost as low as my hopes of getting laid anytime soon. Anyways, you continue down the hall right here, and as I'm swinging my sword like a madman, just a quick reminder to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps me grow my audience and makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. And we finally reach the cell, only to find out that it's still locked. I know, I was confused as you are, especially the ones who already played the game and knew I was going in the wrong direction. I then went back up, across the room where the ladder is, and on the opposite side was the gate the key is meant for. If you haven't got it in your head, you must have it in your legs. I took the elevator down and I was faced with a lot of dead bodies, and I didn't like where this was going. Although, after just a couple of swings of my huge sword, the only thing huge about me, at least that's what she said, I ended up easily defeating my nemesis. It got me the red eye orb. At the time I had no clue what the orb is for, only to realize it is used to invade other players. Like I'm gonna do that. I have hard time fighting NPCs, let alone someone who knows the game inside out and can defeat every boss blindfolded. No thanks. So I went back to Leonard to continue my quest. Oops, I accidentally pressed the attack button on my controller. Luckily nothing happened. Tried to talk to him and he didn't seem to hold a grudge against me. Now I have to visit Rosaria and the Cathedral of Deep. Ooh, that name sounds like she's sexy. Not to bore you with the details how I got there, I'm pretty sure there are plenty of tutorials out there and it would take too much of this video. But what the fuck is this? Looks like Jabba the Hutt's daughter. And there you have it. I've just unlocked another covenant I'm not gonna use, but it's good to have it. Once I realize what it is used for. Mainly aesthetics? If anyone could point me in the right direction here, I'd be grateful. Just write in the comments below. I then went back to Distant Manor Bonfire. Now, don't think that I knew where I was supposed to go, I had to Google it. Like, this game gives you nothing. You can either roam around for ages until you stumble upon something, or you can just Google it. I went further down the stairs to get to my next zone. My sword seemed to be performing quite good. I like how it cleaves everything around you. Good for groups of enemies, until this Hans started summoning fires of hell on me. What the fuck is this? I remember having trouble against these guys even when I was going for Pontiff, but this was way too much, so I had to go back away and try again until he burns me to crisp. I went back and it literally took me 2 hits to kill him. God, how I hate those overpowered NPCs with a low health pool. Makes me wanna spit on their corpses. I went further and I was happy that I'm exiting this zone and excited to see what the next one has to offer for my poor ashen soul. Until I got invaded. Now this is exactly what I was talking about. Firstly, he invaded me in the most inconvenient place where every swing of my sword hits the fucking wall. Secondly, even though I hit him a couple of times, there was no way I could defeat him. I got killed like a dog in a back alley. To the invader responsible, I hope you trip over and lose all your souls on your very next step. My excitement about the next zone faded quickly as I entered another dark, narrow passage that led me to Irithyll dungeon. I knew right away that I'm going to suffer here. Narrow corridors, tight spots, just the best place to be swinging huge sword around. Although this jailer was quite easy. Soon I got jump scared by this skeleton and clank, the lovely clanking sounds of disappointment. As I kept swinging my sword, I realized I was way too aggressive and that my stamina is depleting much faster than twin blades. Not that anything changed from that point on, just wanted to make an observation. As I reached for this titanite shard, I got startled again. This is slowly turning into a horror game. Couple of swings later, I jumped down to explore the lower level. This was a masterful death from above descent. I then fought these spider-legged weird cages. Good thing the sword keeps them at the range, so I'm just basically swinging it around without worrying too much. And then something insane happened. He seemed utterly benign and approachable until I was within the arm's reach, or should I say within the branding iron's reach. As he scorched my skin, my health bar disappeared, and even though I drank a river of Estus flask, I couldn't heal up. I also looked in my inventory if there is something I can use to reverse this. Couldn't find a thing. Instead, I tried a different approach, jumping on top of him. My health eventually got back up. I also found this cage, and as I opened it, this thing burst out with ferocious energy, attacking wildly, and its aggressiveness caught me a bit off guard. And one thing led to another. The second time I fought it, I was introduced with the blood loss debuff. Not the best thing to catch when you intend to live. Gotta admit, it gave me quite some hard time, so I had to switch to good old twin blades, my trusty ally when it comes to fighting fast enemies. As I went deeper into this dungeon, I was facing more of these jailers, and I had to give them the title of the most annoying enemies in the game so far. But I think it's gonna be hard to top that. The fact that they have infinite range to their health drain, or at least I think they do, is insane. After a while I was finally in the open, but looks like the problem with my swinging was actually the skill issue, and not the lack of space. I guess I have to get good. Anyways, as I entered the hallway I met this group of enemies, and it was time for my Astora greatsword to shine. Such beautiful swings into nothing. Let's try that again. And with a couple of good swings, they were dropping like a sack of potatoes. I kept pushing, and after descending this ladder, I opened the gate to where I saw a sleeping giant. I went from the other side because I wanted to catch this crystal lizard. Big mistake. I mean, look at how much health he took from me. It's insane. I think it's safe to say that I'm not waking him up again. Shh. Sleep tight. From this point, I'm threading carefully because my bonfire is a distant speck on the horizon. I have to find the next one because I don't want to lose my souls. I did find this shortcut, which was the next best thing. At least I can skip some enemies next time I die. Further down I met these big heads, and the best tactic to kill them is while they're asleep. like a true coward I am. Honestly, they are not that tough, even if you fight them head on. They look much scarier than they are. Kinda like snakes, as the experts would say. They are more afraid of you than you are of them. Hell no! If Cobra knew how much terror she can inflict with just one hiss, she'd be out there charging rent for every inch of ground she slithers across. Nah, not really a fan of snakes. I was at the zoo with my wife, and the zookeeper took out some pythons or something like that for people to take pictures. There was no way he could convince me to take a fucking picture with that thing. My wife did it though. I guess she wears the pants in this household. Jokes aside, I got trampled hard right here. I felt like everywhere I went there was no escape until the inevitable happened. And I found myself flat on my back, wondering how I got here in the first place. Next time I decided to just Forrest Gump it. No way I'm going to fight all these jailers and hope for victory. As I was crossing the bridge in hopes of finding my next bonfire, I got the next best thing. A giant gargoyle, ready to give me a not so warm welcome. My attacks barely scratched him, and I fumbled around trying to heal myself. He took the opportunity to impale me like a skewer at the barbecue. Just another day in Dark Souls. I returned, switching to my good old trusty twin blades. They are the ones that never dull and provide me with a safe haven when it comes to fighting tough enemies. I returned, switching to my good old trusty twin blades. They are the ones that never dull and provide me with a safe haven when it comes to fighting tough enemies. Had to work this time. I finally reached the next bonfire.
Yeah, buddy!
I was feeling light.
Lightweight!
Ready to conquer more of this game. Dropped down this ladder and continued further. I was not ready to fight another one of those gargoyles, so I decided to skip him. But then I stopped, turned, and yelled, "Come at me!" But was relieved there was no response. I then crashed this interesting Illuminati meeting. Now usually I'd go guns blasting or swords clanking, but after those jailers was not quite sure what to expect. Instead I went for some sneaking action, but the gargoyle wouldn't give up. Or maybe this was a new one, I don't know. All I know, I did the honorable thing and ran away. I went inside and slaughtered everyone, not just the men but the women and the children too. Suddenly I had no fear against those hooded guys. Not when that giant spear is inches behind me, poking me every now and then. As I turned, I realized that other gargoyle is still up there, on the bridge, waiting for me. Soon enough, the smoky curtain of pain and misery revealed itself. Next boss is ready to stomp me. So the next boss is Yorm the Giant. You know, the big fella from the intro? As soon as I saw him, I expected him to be slow. I expected slow, delayed attacks, which I immediately dodged, but then executed the counter attack with misery. I did land some attacks, but barely just tickled him. I knew I was doing something wrong, but I couldn't point my finger at it before he introduced me with an angel of death. The second time I went in, I saw something shiny next to his throne. Now usually I would have ignored it until after the fight, but at this point it didn't really add up. Every time you fight a boss you get items and souls after he dies. So that didn't really make sense to me, so I had to check it out. And I got the Storm Ruler. Now what does it do? I have no idea, but I had to die to equip it. You can't just open an inventory in the middle of the fight and be like, wait a second, wait right here, I'm gonna fuck you up now. Maybe in the other games, but this is Dark Souls. I immediately checked the sword and boom! Great sword with a broken blade, also known the Giant Slayer for the residual strength of the storm that brings giants to the knees. That's what I need. Skill, assume the stance to imbue the sword with the storm. Most effective when facing giants. Got it. With the newfound information, I hurried to face the giant. Subscribe to my channel if you didn't already, because I'm about to drop some knowledge. Oh, and hit the like button, helps the algorithm. As you approach the giant with the sword equipped, your only job is to dodge the attack and charge the sword with the stance attack. Since I'm playing on a PlayStation, it was L2 button for me. When fully charged, the sword will start to glow. That is when you use the attack to bring him down to his knees. And once again, charge the attack, boom, and that's it. Luckily the sword is glowing next to the throne and it's hard not to see it. Otherwise it would have been a long night for me. With the sword, it's the easiest boss in the game. His slow attacks are easily dodged and the sword can be charged while walking. That concludes another episode. I thank you all for the support, enjoy reading all the comments, let me know how long it took you to figure out this sword trick. Write it in the comments below, and as always, subscribe to my channel and smash that notification bell to stay updated on the latest gameplay, reviews and gaming news. Until next time, may your gaming sessions be epic and your victories plentiful.
Please save his soul.